Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Stacy. This is going to be my May reading wrap up. I feel like it's been forever since I've filmed. It has been several weeks. I'm pretty sure it's been several weeks, maybe like 3 weeks. May was a crazy month at my house. It had a lot of roosters crowing. I don't know if that rooster will crow through this whole video. You guys know I had the baby chicks and we have fully moved the chicks outside. So 5 of the baby chicks ended up being roosters. And we're not entirely sure what we're going to do with them right now because we cannot have them in our neighborhood. We're allowed to have chickens, but we're definitely not allowed to have roosters. And one of them has started crowing. So yeah, if he crows through this video, I apologize for that. Just understand that if you're watching one of my videos, you are probably going to hear some sort of farm animal in the background. So anyway, I think I was talking about May, and the month of May was a roller coaster at my house. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. It was just a crazy month. So anyway, May is over. We're now into June. June's also going to be a crazy month around here. Not as crazy as May, but we do throw a giant 4th of July party at our house every 4th of July. And it takes like a month to prepare for it. It's a big deal. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time working on that this month. And I don't know how much reading I'm going to get done. So the first book I read was called The Desert Princess by Jill Eileen Smith. This was a novella, and it was book 1 in the Loves of King Solomon series. Anyway, I read the first book, and from what I remember of it, because it was so long ago and it's just a novella, it was about the first woman that Solomon married, and she was portrayed as being like an actual true love of his, like they were in love with each other. And then she had to deal with him getting his second wife. And we all know how King Solomon ended up living and how difficult it must have been for especially that first wife who like had this love relationship with her husband to then have to share him with hundreds of wives. It's a cool perspective to see what it would have been like for the first woman that Solomon married. Moving on, the second book I read was Meet Me in the Margins by Melissa Ferguson. This was our biblical Christian fiction book club pick. This one I talked about a lot in my last video, my vlog in Tennessee, so I won't talk much about it here, but it was a cute contemporary romance. It was set in Tennessee, so I did enjoy reading about a story that's set where I was at the time. Contemporary romance isn't my favorite genre to read, so I knew that going into it. I knew I wasn't going to be like blown away by it or anything. Plus, it did not have any faith content whatsoever, like absolutely zero faith content. So I did find that annoying that it's marketed as a Christian fiction book. I ended up giving it 2 stars because it was kind of cheesy. I found the main character annoying and there was no faith content. So moving on, the next book I read was called The Spirit Well by Stephen Lawhead. That was book 3 in the Bright Empires series. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. You're going to see a theme with these books. They are sci-fi, time travel, Christian fiction. There are Christian characters and there are like sprinkling of faith elements throughout the series. So I love the characters in this book. Even the villains are interesting and you get to learn their whole backstory and how they became the villain. Characters go on quests and they travel to different countries and in different time periods. It's just so engaging and it makes me want to keep reading it to find out what's going on. Yeah, that is The Spirit Well. The next one I finished was The Yellow Lantern, which I actually have I read this one in Tennessee, and I might have talked about this a lot in that vlog as well. This is historical Christian fiction by Angie Dickin, and it's part of the True Colors Historical Stories of American Crime series. I think this was book 3 in the series. It's the second one that I've read in the series, and I really like this. This was about grave robbers in 1824 in like the New England area. There was a lot of faith content in this book, and I liked the characters. They were kind of put in situations that they struggled with, that were really difficult, and they had to work through things. I learned a lot about this time period, which I always appreciate. And all of these stories in the series are based off of true crime stories that happened. So yeah, I really like this one. The next one, I know I also talked about in that vlog, but I don't know if I finished it in that video or not. And that is The Spice King by Elizabeth Camden. This is book 1 in the Hope and Glory series. This was so good. I gave this one 5 stars. This was excellent. This is about a man who owns like an exotic spice company, or an empire, I think you would actually call it. He travels all over the world and finds spices and imports them. And a woman who is from Kansas, I want to say Kansas, that area, and her blind sister moved to DC, where the sister works in the Library of Congress on Braille, and she works at the Department of Agriculture in DC. And so she meets him, the Spice King, and they develop a friendship, relationship, and his family is just fascinating. I'm so looking forward to reading the next 2 books in this series, because I think the other 2 books are based off of his siblings. So one of my favorite things about historical fiction is the stuff that I learn. I love doing research, and this book made me want to look stuff up. I wanted to do more investigating into the early days of the Department of Agriculture, and it takes place in the area where I live. So a lot of the book is in DC and Arlington, Virginia, Fairfax County. All of that is like the Northern Virginia area, which is where I'm currently located. And so I understood the places they were talking about, and I would take my kids to field trips at the Smithsonian's all the time. And so yeah, I just was so interested from like the beginning to the end of this book. It's so good. You have to read it. All right, the next one I have a physical copy of also, and this is A Rumored Fortune by Joanna Davidson Politano. I wanted to read something by her for the Christian Fictionathon, which was through the month of May, and I started reading a different book of hers about a ballet dancer, and I wasn't into it, so I stopped that one and I picked this one up instead. This one was better than that one. I did enjoy this one, but it was kind of long, and I feel like not much was happening for a large majority in the middle. So it was kind of slow going for me. But it's about a daughter who, her and her mother get called back to their family estate in England to find out that her father had died, and he had this huge fortune that he had always talked about giving her when she reached a certain age, but the fortune was hidden, and he died before he told her where it was. And so all these people come to the estate to try to find the fortune, and I feel like there was about 200 pages in this book that was just really repetitive of, oh, we're looking for it again, oh, you know, did you look in the closet, kind of thing. And there was, in my opinion, insta-love, which I didn't really get that. I didn't really like those people getting together in the fashion that they did. It just seemed over the top to me. So I think this was well written, especially the beginning. I was really sucked into the beginning of it, and then it was very slow in the middle, and then the end wrapped up. I don't know if it wrapped up in the way I wanted it to wrap up in. So anyway, the book was good, and I would give her another try. Probably not the ballet book because I just was like not into it. But I probably would give her another try. And I gave this one 3.5 stars. All right, next one that I finished was The Shadow Lamp, book 4 of the Bright Empire series by Stephen Lawhead. And I have been talking so much about these books that there really isn't anything new to say. And since it's book 4, I can't give any spoilers. So read the series. It's so good. So then I read a nonfiction, just one nonfiction in the month of May, and that was Lessons from the Upper Room by Sinclair Ferguson. This one walks you through John, the book of John, in the part where Jesus is with the disciples in the upper room. I don't remember the verse off the top of my head, or the verses. It walks you through several verses while they're in the upper room. It just gave me a stronger sense of how important everything that he said and did in that room was, how every action mattered, what everything meant. And I've read that part of the Bible multiple times, and I still was able to get so much out of this book, the way that he broke it down and described things. The end of the book, I was sobbing. I was praying through this book and thanking Jesus for everything he had done. It was just heartfelt. It made such an impact on me. I've never read anything by Sinclair Ferguson before. I have no idea who that even is. I've heard the name just on other books. So I definitely want to check out more from that author, because yeah, I got so much out of this. And the last thing I want to talk about is kind of a failure for the month of May. I knew this was going to happen going into it, but it is readathons. I failed both the readathons that I attempted to do. I stink at readathons. I stink at making a TBR, planning out what I'm going to read. It's terrible for me. I did end up reading 3 out of the 5 prompts for the Christian Fictionathon. I think there was 5, and I think I read 3. This one was the Christian mystery. This one was the romance. And this one I used for the author I have never read before. So I guess 3 out of 5 isn't too bad, but I wanted to read the book with the flowers on the cover. And for that one, I had started book 1 of the Mitford series by Jan Karen, but I only got half of it read. That book is really slow going for me. I'm really struggling with reading that as a physical book, and I don't know why, because the book is great. I have no issues with the book whatsoever. My issues is with me reading, physically reading. I wanted to read, I think it's called When Jonah Ran. It's about Jonah and the whale. And I had started that book 2 years ago and I hadn't finished it, but that was the book that was on my TBR the longest. And I didn't get to it at all. Didn't pick it up at all. So that was my fails for that readathon. And then I also wanted to try to do the short story readathon. Oh boy, I just, man, that was terrible for me. That was terrible. I only ended up reading half of one short story collection, and that was it. Oh yeah, that's a bummer. I did read half of The Twilight Zone for Christians by Michael Edwin Q. That's how it's listed, like Q is his last name. I don't know. This one was really neat, but there was definitely one short story that I read that really has stuck with me. I've been thinking a lot about it ever since I read it, and that's what I love about Twilight Zone episodes. Some of the episodes, you watch it and it just makes you think a lot. So the story was about Noah's Ark, and the family members, Noah's family, hears crying like down below where the animals are, and they go down to check it out, and there is a half man, half beast that had got onto the ark, and he's all alone. He doesn't have a partner, like a boy girl pair. It's just him, and he's sad because he's the last one of his kind, and Noah's family is trying to figure out what to do with him because he's half man and half beast, and all the other people were supposed to have died in the flood, but he's half beast, and so he should be on the ark. And so it's this dilemma of what do you do with him. And then in the end of the story, you find out exactly what he is, and you probably already, like, I guessed what he was, but you could probably guess what this half man half beast was that made it onto Noah's ark. But it was just a really thought-provoking story, like, oh, what would you do in that situation? So that is all I got for this video. I don't know how much I'm going to film in June, what the plans are. Like I said, it's going to be a bit chaotic around here. So I hope you all have a great month of June, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.